I'm muffin and I'm half-ass ready. So it's spring in the mountains. We're gonna start gardening, right? I told y'all I'm a half-ass gardener, just like I'm half-ass ready. So um, I've said it 100 times. I'll say it 100 more. 3 days ain't enough, and it's gonna be nice to have fresh vegetables in the fall. So I garden, right? I used to traditional garden, tiller, and this is my garden, or my area where I garden. And by the way, I have a unique luxury today. I have a cameraman, so thank you, son.
Welcome,
Uh,
Pops.
so I have a cameraman today, which means I can move, and so I'm gonna move while we're doing this. I'm not planting the whole garden today. I'm in a unique growing area. The growing season, you chance things if you plant too early here. Beautiful day today, could be 32 degrees again tomorrow. So I don't plant tomatoes, corn, those things until after Mother's Day here in the mountains. That's just what my mother told me, my grandma told her, so that's what we do. But so I know a lot of y'all probably raised bed garden, which is cool. I'm going to try that eventually. I'm actually working on clearing a piece of property that I'm going to put some raised beds on. I'm going to do some raised beds. But I've been, for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been working on this container gardening stuff, and I'm finally starting to get it figured out. So I use, Maggie, quit eating grass. I use a lot of 5-gallon buckets. I also use these. Let's go over here so we get a better view. These grow boxes are from I forget the name of the company as we speak, of course. But these grow boxes are really cool. They self-water. The water's down here in the bottom. They come with this patch that goes on the top that has fertilizer in the patch that goes in here. And I grow tomatoes, wonderful tomatoes. As you can see, I outgrow these trellises every year. But tomatoes are wonderful. Probably make another video when I go to plant tomatoes, because I plant heritage tomatoes. I plant some hybrids because I like the way they taste, but I plant heritage tomatoes so I can save seeds. And I have purchased my tomato plants already. I do have some heritage seeds. I don't usually start from seed. Those are in my seed vault. We should probably talk about that too. Don't want to bore you with a whole lot of details, but everyone should have a seed vault. You can keep seeds a long time. There's lots of literature out there about keeping seeds, but the thing to do, you need to make sure you're keeping heritage, heirloom type seeds, because they will grow fruit that has seeds that you can continue to crop. I have half-runner bean seeds inside my house inside that my grandfather, who fought in World War I, okay, my family's been planting those beans for over 100 years. So, and I have those bean seeds, and we keep them every year. Myself, I have a cousin, my mother, I have a few people that do this. So, yeah, we have those seeds. A lot of those people are moving on, and didn't want that heritage to die. And me, my cousin Ed, so there's several people in my family who just don't want this tradition to die. So, my mother has raspberry plants that my grandmother planted when she came here. So those have been in my family for over 100 years now. I mean, so, the heritage stuff's important. The new hybrid stuff is drought resistant, disease resistant, bug resistant. It's wonderful stuff, and it grows really good fruit. And there'll be seeds in them, but you don't know what they engineered that particular fruit from. So it could be you may or may not get a tomato plant that grows fruit from that seed. So you want to make sure you're getting a heritage or an heirloom seed. So, but I love these grow boxes. I buy them online. I have to replace the patch every year, okay? But if I couldn't get the patch, I can still use these grow boxes. I just have to put in my own fertilizer, okay? And there's enough fertilizer in that patch to where it lasts all year. These are fantastic. I strongly suggest getting them. I wished I had more, but I wanted to try the 5-gallon bucket thing, and it's actually working pretty well. So we'll move around the garden some more. These buckets I picked up from a friend of mine who worked at a nursery. These are, they call them 5-gallon buckets. But these trellises that are inside, this is where I grow cucumbers or beans. These trellises I made from fence that I have with a pair of wire snippers, and they work excellent for that. I plant inside in here, and the fruit, the vine grows up, attaches itself to the trellis. I pick my fruit from inside or outside. It sometimes grows to the outside, so pick my fruit here. So these two will be cucumbers, and I already have my heirloom seed for cucumbers. I like white pickling cucumbers, and that's what I like to eat. And I'm going to grow more cucumbers this year, so I want to start pickling. And that's something I'm going to learn, and y'all can learn with me when I learn it. But another 5-gallon bucket, more of these boxes. These I will grow beans, and sometimes I grow snow peas in here. For your information, FYI, snow peas, you need about 80 acres of snow peas to get a yield that's worthy of eating. I'll eat them out of the vine right here in the garden, and you just can't grow enough damn snow peas. You can't grow enough. Good Lord, it takes a lot of snow peas to make a mess. So, I grow my squash here, and I don't know if y'all grow squash, but squash grows out really big, and I found out in these containers that the leaves would collapse and break, and I wasn't getting the yield I was getting. So I built these little tables around so the leaves have a place to lay, and I do pretty good with squash. I grow summer squash, yellow and zucchini squash. And then what I'm going to plant today, cabbage, I plant here. Now, I feel like I can plant cabbage now because cabbage is good in cold weather. You can grow cabbage. I could have planted cabbage 2 weeks ago. I didn't because the weather was crap. But we'll talk about Victory Gardens. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stick one of these in the ground while we're talking. 10-10-10 fertilizer, nothing fancy. Cabbage is cabbage. But during the First World War, when food was being rationed and whatnot, people started growing Victory Gardens. And they called them Victory Gardens because the government would supply you with a certain amount of seed, and there would be people from the civil defense who would come around especially in cities and suburban areas. Most country folks knew how to plant a garden. But they would come into these cities and suburban areas, and they would help you pick a plot of ground at your house or a community plot or whatever, and people would grow these gardens, and they called them Victory Gardens because they felt like they were contributing to the war effort, right? So this continued. World War II, it became even bigger, these Victory Gardens, and there's TV shows, The Victory Garden, and there's tons of books out there on how to small plot garden. And hey, baby, and Maggie had to make her appearance, so we have Arthur here too. So we have lots of dogs on the yard today, but so this tradition continued, and people enjoyed having the fresh vegetables, not having to go to the store. And it continued all my life. I know people have small plots on their land, and they grow small gardens, right? Then they came up with they call it square foot gardening. And square foot gardening takes a really small plot, but they really are ingenious on how they plant so they can get the most yield out of every piece of this garden, right? And I've done that in the past, and it works well. But I'm a big cucumber tomato guy. I don't know if I could support my whole family for a year out of this garden, but if I have seeds, if I can make seeds, when the shit hits the fan, I've got an opportunity to make anything I want to make, right? I have the opportunity to feed my family that other people aren't going to have. So, like I said, I'm gonna put a spoonful of 10-10-10 in this bucket. I'm gonna make a hole for my plant. I'm gonna put a plant in, but I feel like gardening. A lot of preppers. Look, the hardcore guys, they garden. I mean, they garden. But I think a lot of us, we're banking on that freeze-dried stuff. And look, it's probably going to keep us alive. I'm not about to argue about that. But man, wouldn't it be nice to have something fresh? You know what I'm saying? So, again, depending on how long everything's out of whack on whether or not we're going to eat next year, right? Think you could pile enough freeze-dried food in your house to last 2 years? You see what your pantry looks like right now, right? With a year or 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is, right? So, I want to be able to have the opportunity, and I appreciate any gardening tips any of y'all want to give me, especially if it has to do with container gardening. I'm very new to container gardening. And look, I'm fortunate here. I have enough space. I could really do a lot of container gardening. I mean, this is one end of I'm doing one wall of my home, right? If I really had to, I could completely surround my house with containers. Now, the reason I keep them around my house is because it's close to my water hose. You got to remember, irrigation is going to be important. If you don't have no power or no water, so then you might want to reconsider where you want to put your container garden, right? Maybe you want to put it closer to the creek. I don't know, closer to the water supply. Then we have to talk about what we always end up talking about, security. You got to keep that garden secure, believe me. Within where I'm standing, 300 yards where I'm standing, I have neighbors. And they're going to be hungry. And you may catch somebody in your garden picking your tomatoes or picking your cucumbers so they can live. Because they're starving, right? I say so they can live, but so you need to consider the security of your garden. This was close to my house, and I feel like I could get water here if I needed water here. So I feel like I'll probably garden right here, no matter what's going on. But when you're selecting your garden spot, these are things that you need to consider if you're a prepper. Security is going to be real important. And we're going to talk about security. Big video on security coming. I have a lot of guys asking me and friends asking me about when I'm going to do that video. And, you know, I don't want to give away anything, but I don't want to predispose y'all to think we're just going to talk about busting caps, right? My son happens to be a physical security expert, okay? So there's more to physical security than just owning a firearm. Believe me, that's very important to everyone in my group, and it should be important to you, but it's probably not the most important thing. Well, maybe it is the most important thing, but there are a whole lot of other important things that go along with physical security and securing your place, and we're going to talk about that. It's so individual to where you are, where your safe place is, right? So, and me and Landon will get into that. We'll get big into that because it's important to both of them. We talk about it a lot. We just don't talk about it on video a lot. So, but it's spring. I wanted to get gardening, and I want you to get gardening. And come the fall, man, we're going to do a lot of stuff on preserving some stuff. I'm not going to grow enough in my little garden to preserve much. because my wife and I and my son and his girl, we're going to eat it. Okay, it's good. So, but we're gonna can a lot of beans. We're gonna do a lot of canning. Again, I want to get into pickling. I want to get into salt preserving meat. My wife and I already can meat. We're gonna do some of that. We don't have to wait till the fall to do that. So, but we're gonna get into that shit. But again, welcome to my garden and welcome to my world and welcome to my prepper world. It's hard to live inside these prepper minds, but you know we're going to. I told you I went on a trip and I made my long distance go bag video, and wow, man, y'all really hit that thing, and it surprised me because honestly, it just feels like common sense, but I appreciate everybody liking it and the comments. Man, it was awesome. But I told you I was going to do a video while we were up there. And be perfectly honest with you, me and my friends got way too inebriated to really be articulate in anything. So, but I do want to sit down and just talk about security, and we'll talk about firearms, of course, and we'll talk about there's lots of videos about the perfect prepper gun, right? Well, there ain't a perfect prepper gun. We'll talk about that too. But get out there and garden, man, and enjoy it. Learn all you can. There's tons of literature out there. I strongly suggest you learn all you can learn. If you have questions, man, put them on the YouTube site channel, and I'll see what I can do about answering them. But again, I'm going to sign off because I didn't want to get too carried away. But tell the ones that you love them. This is Muffin signing off.